Today we'll do 1.4 pairs of angles. There are two very important types of angles that we're going to talk about today, complementary angles and supplementary angles. So let's fill out some definitions. Blank are angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. If two angles add up to be 90 degrees, this is called complementary angles. Ok, 1.4 vamos a hablar de ángulos y vamos a hablar de pares de ángulos. ¿Qué tipo de pares de ángulos hay? La primera definición es ángulos complementarios, que quiere decir que son dos ángulos que si se agregan tienen una medida de 90 grados. Muchas de las veces saben que son ángulos complementarios porque ven esa cajita en su ángulo así. Esa cajita, acuérdense, quiere decir 90 grados. All right. What about the next definition? Blank are angles that add up to equal 180 degrees. This is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles. Okay, so the important part is that they equal to 180 degrees. Okay, el otro tipo de ángulos se llaman supplementary angles, ángulos suplementarios, y son dos ángulos que cuando se agregan hacen una medida de 180. Estos ángulos suplementarios pueden ser como un ángulo que estoy dibujando, podemos decir que tiene 60 grados de medida, y otro ángulo que es su par para un ángulo suplementario puede ser 120 grados. Con que el par de ángulos se agregue y tenga una medida de 180 es lo que buscamos. Okay? Let's keep talking about more pairs of angles. Two angles that share a vertex and a side that add up to 180 are called linear pairs. Okay, what's important for a linear pair that you should know is that it's two angles that, yes, they form 180 degrees, but they must be right next to each other and form a line. So they form a line. So how would this look like visually? We're going to have this straight line that's splitting, okay? And it's going to have an angle that we can call angle 1 and another angle here. We'll call it angle 2. Okay, and they're right next to each other. They're sharing an angle here. Sorry, they're sharing a ray. Okay, they're right next to each other. They're sharing a ray, and I'll highlight that ray in just a bit. Give me 1 second, right here. Oh, and I didn't want that color. Let's do this one in red. Okay, so this is your shared ray between the two angles. They form a straight line, so they make 180 degrees together. Okay, so two angles that share a vertex and a side, okay, and they add up to 180. This is called a linear pair right there. It's very similar to supplementary because supplementary adds up to 180, but supplementary does not have to be a line. That's the difference. All right, let's keep going. Angles that share a vertex and a side are called adjacent angles. Okay, so our second definition here, oh, and I need my actual pen, adjacent angles. Okay, so how would this look like if we had a visual or a picture? It would look like an angle. Let's say it has a ray between it. So this is what we call the shared side, okay? And we can say that this is called angle 1 and this is angle 2. Okay, so they're sharing that side right here. This is called adjacent. That's what I mean when I say angles are adjacent. They're right next to each other. They're touching, okay? So the big thing, they're touching and sharing a side. So they are touching. big thing. They're touching and sharing side. Very important. Okay, so you'll see that word adjacent all throughout geometry. So it's very important that you know what it means. Okay, it's two angles that are right next to each other. They're touching. They have a shared side. All right, third definition here in this little table. Angles that are made by intersecting lines are called vertical angles. This is another very important definition. Vertical angles. Angles that are formed by intersecting lines. How would this look like visually? Let's draw two different lines that are intersecting, that are touching. And I would say that this angle and this angle, I'll call this one angle 1, and this one is called angle 2. These two angles are vertical angles. I can also say, and I'll change colors, that the ones across each other, which are in red, so angle, let's call it 3, and angle 4 are also vertical angles. So I have two different pairs of vertical angles. Angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. And angle 3 and angle 4 are also a pair of vertical angles. So I can say angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. And I can say that angle 3 and angle 4 are pairs of vertical angles. Okay, so this is one set of vertical angles. This is another set of vertical angles. And as long as they're opposite, they're across from each other, we can say they're vertical angles. They just have to be intersecting lines. Ok, so tenemos tres importantes definiciones aquí. El par de ángulos que se llaman linear. So, básicamente son ángulos que forman una línea. Por eso yo puse aquí en la estrellita, forma una línea. Lo más importante que deben de saber de esta parte es que hay un rayo o una línea que es compartida por los dos ángulos. So, esa línea aquí que está en rojito, esa línea está compartida por este ángulo y este otro ángulo. Eso se llama que tenemos dos ángulos que hacen una línea y están al ladito, están tocando. Ok, son los ángulos que están tocando y forman una línea. Eso se llaman linear pairs. La otra definición es donde está tocando los dos ángulos. Se llama eso adjacent angles. Ángulos que comparten un lado. So, estos dos ángulos tienen que estar al ladito de sí mismos. Están compartiendo un lado y se pueden llamar adjacent angles. Ángulos adyacentes. El tercer par de ángulos muy importantes se llaman ángulos verticales, vertical angles. Básicamente son dos líneas que están intersectando, están tocando estas dos líneas y al tocar forman 4 diferentes ángulos. Los ángulos verticales son los ángulos que están opuestos de sí mismo. Okay, so yo puedo decir en mi visual que ángulo 1 y ángulo 2 se llaman ángulos verticales. Están opuestos, están del otro lado. Hay otro par de ángulos verticales. Yo dije que ángulo 3 y ángulo 4 son ángulos verticales. Están opuestos. Okay, forman un X y ven esos ángulos cuidadosamente. Okay. Si yo digo que ángulo 1 y ángulo 4 son ángulos verticales, eso es mentira. Tienen que ser ángulos que estén opuestos, del otro lado. ¿Okay? 1 y 4 no están al otro lado, están tocando. Esos no son ángulos verticales. Esos serían ángulos adyacentes que están tocando. Ok, vamos a seguir con más definiciones. So, let's keep going. We have another set of definitions here where we can kind of look at. And let me just kind of zoom in a little bit more. So we're going to do that vocab for theorem, okay? So it says that a theorem is any statement that you can prove. All right, so if it's a theorem that you can prove, okay, it says once you have proven a theorem, you can use it as reasoning for later proofs. Okay, so the big picture here for theorem, any statement that you have proved that is correct in geometry or in math, you call it a theorem. Okay, let's look at some theorems here. These are things that have already been proven by other mathematicians. Okay, so we have two theorems. It says linear pair theorem. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. Okay, so what it's saying is that if I have angles that form a linear pair, then I can say they are also supplementary. Remember that supplementary means angles that add up to equal 180, right? Supplementary means an addition of 180 degrees. If I look at the example that they gave me, I have a line. So let's highlight that line. I have a straight line here. Okay, when I have a straight line, I know it's 180 degrees, okay? So I know that this whole thing from here to here, its actual measurement is 180 degrees. Now, they did tell us that this part of my, and I need my highlighter, not my pen. They did tell us that this part of the angle right here is 7x minus 46. They labeled it. And they also said that this angle right here in the blue is 3x plus 6. Okay. Now, we need to prove that this is true. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. Well, clearly it looks like it's true. These two angles, if they were to be added together, they should be 180, and they are supplementary. This is true. What they want us to do next is set up an equation and solve. Okay, so let's solve. Because I have a part of one angle and then a part of the other angle, and I have a whole of 180, I'm going to use part plus part equals a whole. Okay, so I'm going to do part plus part equals a whole. Okay, so I'm going to grab 7x minus 46, and I'm going to add it with my other expression, 3x plus 6. I'm going to put it equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so I graphed each part that they gave me, which were my expressions, so each part of the angle, and then I knew it had to equal 180. Okay, it's a line, a straight line. So let's solve for x. So that's what they want us to do. Let's solve for x and see what happens here. Okay, so I have on the left side of the equation, so on the left side, I have 7x and 3x that need to be combined. And I also need to combine negative 46 right here that I'm highlighting. And I need to combine this positive 6. So let's do that. So if I go to my calculator and I add 7 and 3 together, I should get a 10. And it's going to be 10x. If I go to my decimals or my calculator and I put negative 46 and add 6 to it, it's going to give me negative 40. Okay, so let's look at that. Just so we know it's true. So let me just move this out of the way a little bit. So it's negative 46 plus 6. Oops, 6. And that's where I'm getting that negative 40. Okay. And I'm going to actually delete this this part right here. If I can move it out of the way. Let me see. Let me try again. Oh my god. There we go. So it's out of the way. So the left side, I condensed it. I made it into something that we can work with and start moving things around. Okay. So 7x and 3x were added together. I got 10x. And negative 46 and 6 were combined. They were added together. And my calculator gave me negative 40. All right. I still have that 180 degrees on the other side. I haven't done anything to it. So I'm going to write it down. I am going to have to solve for x. That's the goal. So I see that my x is on the left side. So I'm going to leave it there. So I need to move everything else that shouldn't be there. That negative 40 shouldn't be there. So I'm going to grab negative 40 and I'm going to move it to the right side. If I'm going to move it to the other side, I need to do the opposite. So I see a negative. I'm going to add 40. So it can go away on the left side. And I move it to the other side. So let me bring down that 10x I haven't used. 180 plus 40, use your calculator, and it should give you 220. All right, we're almost there. I need to solve for x. I have 10x equals 220. So my last step, since 10 and x are multiplying, is dividing by 10. I'll do the opposite, which is division, and it's a division of 10. All right, 220 divided by 10. Use your graphing calculator. Use Desmos, whatever you like. It's going to give me 22 if I use my calculator. So x equals 22. All right, so we have this theorem, the linear pair theorem, where if we have two angles right next to each other and they're forming a line, we know that they're supplementary, which means they form 180 degrees. Okay, so we created an equation here because they wanted us to solve for x. All right, we have another theorem to look at. It's the vertical angle theorem. It says vertical angles are congruent. That's true, okay? Congruent means they're equal, okay? So vertical angles are equal. That's how you should think about it. If you know things are vertical angles, then you know those aren't equal in measure as well. So that means that 5x minus 2 and 4x plus 25, since these are vertical angles because they're across from each other, these are equal in measure, okay? And if they're equal in measure, I can put them equal to each other and solve, okay, because they're congruent. So I'm going to grab 5x minus 2. I'm going to grab this angle that's expressed as 5x minus 2, and I'm going to put it equal to the other vertical angle, 4x plus 25, and I'm going to solve for x and see what x equals to. Okay, so once I set this up, because they're vertical angles, I had to put each expression equal to each other. Now it's time to solve for x. I'm going to start by moving the smallest amount of x's that I have to the other side. So between 5x and 4x, the smallest x is 4x. So I'm going to grab 4x and move it to the other side. I see a positive 4x. I'll do the opposite. I'll subtract. And I'll do it on the other side as well. So 5x minus 4x, okay, that's going to give me 1x. So I'm going to be left with 1x. So I'm not going to put 1, I'm going to just put x there. I'm going to bring down that negative 2 that I haven't used, and it's equal to 25 because 4x went away. So this is what I have so far. X minus 2 equals 25. Now I'm so close to finishing. Remember, the goal is that x would be on one side all by itself. Okay, so right now x is on the left side of the equation, but negative 2 shouldn't be there. I want it out of the way. So I'm going to grab negative 2 and I'm going to move it to the other side, to the right side of the equation. And I'll do that by doing the opposite. Remember, you add 2. So if you see a negative, you do the opposite, and that would be addition. I'll bring down that x that I want. 25 plus 2 should give me 27. This is my final answer. Okay, because x is alone like I wanted it. I didn't have to do any division. or any multiplication. All I had to do was just move that 2 over, and that's what I did. Ok, lo más importante aquí es el visual, ok. La teoría es importante, pero lo más importante es que si ven que es un visual que es como el que hicimos primero, que forma una línea, ok. Si está formando una línea, ok, quiere decir que si agrego estos dos ángulos, te da 180 grados, ¿ok? So yo por eso puse la parte más parte, me da toda la parte. Cada parte eran los ángulos que se agregan y luego va a ser igual a 180 grados, porque sabemos que los dos ángulos que se agregan aquí, que forman esta línea, deben de ser y formar 180 grados. Creé mi ecuación, agregué las dos expresiones que me dieron en mi visual y lo puse igual a 180. Okay, el lado izquierdo, cuando yo resolví aquí, el lado izquierdo, yo cuando resolví tuve que combinar todo lo que era igual. Okay, esto es ya resolviendo por X, es algo que ya deberían de haber estado practicando varios días ya hasta ahorita. Combiné 7X y 3X, combiné estos dos porque son X y me dio 10X. Combiné negativo 46 y 6 y me dio negativo 40. Y seguí resolviendo. ¿Okay? Al último tuve que hacer esta división de 10 y me dio X es 22. Buscaba X en esta parte. Ok, el último problema son ángulos verticales, que quieren decir que tenemos estas dos líneas que están intersectando y formaron estos ángulos verticales que ven aquí. En este caso nos dieron expresiones para representar los ángulos verticales. Cuando tienen ángulos verticales, quiere decir que los ángulos son congruentes, son que tienen la misma medida, son iguales, son equal. Ok, entonces yo cuando formo mi ecuación para poder resolver por X, yo puse las dos expresiones que me dieron en mi figura y las puse igual a 5X menos 2 igual a 4X más 25. Okay, los puse igual porque estos dos ángulos que son verticales técnicamente deben de ser la misma medida. Solo los podemos poner igual. Yo aquí nomás resolví por X, ¿ok? No tuve que combinar nada en el lado izquierdo ni en el lado derecho. Yo puedo empezar a mover lo que yo necesite en cualquier lado, ¿ok? Yo primero moví ese 4X al lado izquierdo, ¿ok? Yo siempre empiezo por mover el X más pequeño. Entre 5X y 4X, 4X es más pequeño. Agarré eso, hice lo opuesto y lo moví al lado izquierdo. Resté 4X. Cuando hice esta resta, me quedó X solo en el lado izquierdo. Bajé el menos 2, bajé el 25 y seguí resolviendo. Mi último paso fue agregar por 2 para que X esté solo en el lado izquierdo de la ecuación y agarré que X es 27. Que en su tarea van a tener algo muy muy similar. Y si ven que es una línea recta, entonces hacen el procedimiento que hicimos al principio, agregan las expresiones, los ponen igual a 180. Si son ángulos verticales, los van a poner igual, ¿ok? Eso es lo que quiero que puedan hacer en su tarea. All right, we have to do example 1, 2, and 3 here. This is example 1. List the angle type given the picture below. All right, let's look at our types of angles here and classify. The one that I'm not going to do is C. So I'm going to just cross it out. I don't want to do it. All right, so let's look at A. It says angle RPQ. So I'm going to grab my highlighter and kind of follow along. Angle RPQ. So this is the first angle right here. And angle TPU. So let's move along here. TPU. So this is the other angle that we're dealing with. The first thing that I do notice is that they're opposite of each other. So I'm going to say these are vertical angles. Ok, so estoy clasificando mis ángulos. En este caso, los dos que subrayé en rojo, esos están opuestos. So yo sé que son ángulos verticales. All right, let's keep going. Angle RPS and STP. So RSPT, so let me see if I can do this in another color. Let's do green. RPS, it's this angle right here in green, and SPT, this other one right there. Okay, so these two right here, they are right next to each other and they have a shared side. So I'm going to say these are called adjacent angles. Ooh, I have a typo here, adjacent. Ángulos adyacentes son los que están en verde, están al ladito de ellos mismos y están compartiendo un lado. So, están tocando, están compartiendo un lado y eso nos dice que son ángulos adyacentes, que estén tocando. Okay, let's do the last one. Angle QPS, sorry. QPS, it's this big angle right here in yellow that you can see that I'm doing here. QPS right there. All of this is QPS. Okay, and then SPT, it's the one in green that we had looked at earlier. They're touching, okay, each other. If you look for these two angles, they're touching, but they're also forming that straight line. And so I'm going to call this a linear pair. Ok, por ejemplo, lo que hicimos es buscar qué tipo de ángulos son. So, ellos nos están nombrando los ángulos y nosotros tenemos que clasificarlos de cuál tipo de par de ángulos son. Ok, A era ángulos verticales, estaban opuestos. B son ángulos adyacentes, estaban tocando estos dos ángulos, pero no formaron 180. So, yo dije que son ángulos adyacentes. Y el último par que vimos, este par están tocando los dos ángulos, pero también están formando una línea. Entonces yo lo clasifiqué como linear pair. Ok, para ustedes clasificar y todo eso, va a ser lo más difícil, poder ver el visual y decir, ok, estos son verticales, adyacentes, linear pair. Yo he visto que en los años que he enseñado geometry, eso es lo más difícil, que puedan hacer clasificar, acordarse de las definiciones también es difícil, ok, pero traten lo mejor que puedan. All right, so this unit 1 that we've been doing so far, this tends to be the hardest unit for a lot of kids in geometry because of a lot of the vocabulary and that we're introducing a lot of different things in geometry, different shapes, different types of lines. Right now, the types of pairs of angles. There's a lot of things going on. And then I ask you to solve for x, to form an equation and solve for x. It's a lot. Just try your best for now, okay? Let's do example 2 and see if you can understand it a little better. Vamos a hacer ejemplo 2, okay? Este dice ángulo A y ángulo B son complementarios. Si la medida de ángulo A es igual a 42 grados, encuentra la medida de ángulo B. All right, example 2, angle A and angle B are complementary. First thing I'm going to do, I see that vocabulary word complementary. I know that means that there's two angles that form 90 degrees. It also tells me that if the measure of angle A equals 42 degrees, that I need to find the measure of angle B. So what I'm looking for is the measure of angle B. That is the question, okay, that I do not know. But I do know that these two should form 90 degrees. That's why I see that box right there. Okay, that box tells me 90 degrees, remember? Okay, but between both of those, it makes 90. And I know that angle A, so this section of your 90 degrees is 42 degrees. My job is to find the other section of my 90 degrees. What measure is that? Okay, so that's the mystery. That's the question. Because I have one part given to me and I need to find the remaining part, I have to do a subtraction. So I'm going to grab 90, the total, and I'm going to subtract it with 42 so I can see what the remaining part is going to be. When I use decimals and I do this subtraction, I should get 48 degrees. So measure angle B equals 48 degrees. And that is my answer. You'll have something very similar like this in your homework. But instead of asking complementary, I think it's about supplementary. Okay, so keep that in mind. Remember at the beginning of the notes, I told you what the definition was for complementary and what the definition was for supplementary. Okay, so para ejemplo 2, tuve que hacer una resta. Me dijeron que son ángulos complementarios, que quiere decir que son ángulos que si se agregan es igual a 90 grados. So, la totalidad, la medida entre la totalidad de los dos es 90 grados. Me dieron uno de esos ángulos, me dieron su medida, que fue 42 grados. Yo busco ángulo B en este caso, que cuál es la medida de ese ángulo. Que eso yo tuve que hacer una resta. Que yo supe parte de ese ángulo y soy la totalidad también. Si me dieron parte de ese ángulo y quiero saber lo que quedó, que fue ángulo B, tengo que hacer mi resta. Ok, son 90 menos 42 es igual a 48. En su tarea tienen uno muy similar, pero en vez de preguntarles o decirles de complementary, les digo que son ángulos suplementarios. So, en su tarea hay uno que es muy similar, pero no es 90, es 180 grados. Okay, let's keep going. We're not doing example 3, so we're going to skip that one. We are doing example 4 though. What is the value of x? Okay, that is our question. We want to know what x is. So that's what we want to solve. I see a visual here. I see that I have that 90-degree box right there. That's the first thing that I notice when I'm looking at my picture. And I know that means 90 degrees. Okay, so the totality of these two angles should be 90 degrees. Now, because I have complementary angles, they equal 90 degrees. I know that this part right here is 2x plus 20, and that this part in blue is 4x minus 2. I have something that we called part plus part equals a whole. I need to create an equation and then solve for x. Okay, so I was given 2x plus 20 as one of the parts of your angle, and then the other part was 4x minus 2, and I know it's equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so we all have to solve for x. Okay, so before I start moving things around, I need to combine like terms. So I'm going to be able to combine like terms from 2x and 4x. I'm going to be able to combine terms from positive 20 and negative 20. Okay, so what's in similar colors, that's what I'm combining. I'll go and use my calculator, 2x plus 4x, and it gives me 6x. Please use your calculator. Please recheck your work, your math that you're doing. 20 minus 2 is going to give you positive 18. Okay, or if you go to your calculator and do 20 plus negative 2 or 20 minus 2, it should give you that 18. Okay, so let's bring down that 90. Okay, remember the goal is to solve for x. So I need to move that 18 to the other side. Subtract 18 should be your next step. I'm gonna bring down that 6x. 90 minus 18 should give you, it should be 72. Okay, I need to divide by 6. That should be my last step. When I use my calculator, 72 divided by 6 should be 12. Again, recheck your answers, or if you did the math in your head, recheck that in the calculator, please. That's why we have calculators. They're there to help you. Okay, so my job was to find x, and that's exactly what I did. X equals 12. Ok, aquí me dieron la meta de buscar x. So, what is the value of x? ¿Cuál es el valor de x? Eso es lo que yo estaba tratando de resolver aquí. Me dieron mi visual. Yo veo esa cajita de 90 grados que me dice 90 grados. So, yo sé que en la totalidad estos dos ángulos forman 90 grados. Me dieron parte del ángulo, que es 2x más 20. Y me dieron el otro ángulo, que fue 4x menos 2. Me dieron estas expresiones. Entonces, yo sé que voy a tener que hacer parte más parte es igual a toda la parte. Me dieron dos ángulos, dos de su parte. Yo sé que la totalidad entre los dos me forma 90 grados. Usé esa información para crear mi ecuación. 2x más 20 más 4x menos 2 es igual a 90 grados. Hay que resolver por x y fue lo que hice. Combiné todo lo que pude en el lado izquierdo. 2x más 4x me da ese 6x. El 20 menos 2 es 18. Muevo el 18 al otro lado para resolver y agarro que 6x es igual a 72. Mi último paso es por dividir entre ese 6. Y cuando dividí entre 6, 72 dividido entre 6 es 12. Usen por favor su calculadora lo más que puedan. Acuérdense que pueden hacer sus calculaciones en su cabeza, pero por favor rechequen con su calculadora. Por eso está la calculadora ahí, para que puedan usarla. Ok, tienen tarea en su paquete 1.4. Buena suerte. Good luck.